Welcome back. This is the third and final video for our Week 4 content where we've looked at the cultural determinants of health. The key take-home message regarding culture is displayed on this slide. Health and culture are necessarily interrelated. As mentioned earlier, culture plays a role in defining what counts as a disease, beliefs about the causes of disease, and how diseases are viewed. Culture also impacts how effective health promotion strategies will be. For example, some cultures believe that being overweight or obese, which is a Euro-Western concept, is in fact indicative of strength. Being overweight in certain cultures is desirable and reflects a higher socioeconomic status. Therefore, weight reduction public health campaigns will not be, universally speaking, effective. Culture also affects how illness and pain are experienced. Some cultures value stoicism, never showing pain or discomfort, while others openly express this. Culture also affects where people seek help. For example, whether you go to an acupuncturist or a GP as your first port of call when you're sick. It also affects patient interactions. In some cultures, making eye contact is a sign of disrespect, but may, in some instances, be misconstrued as a sign of social anxiety or as a symptom of depression. If in your culture treatment is always necessarily pharmacological, that is, it involves receiving medicine as a treatment source, then you may not respond well to alternative options, such as a request to see an acupuncturist or see a dietitian. Additional influences of culture appear on this next slide. Hopefully you've well and truly absorbed the key message here. The effects of culture are broad and wide-ranging. They impact health in really significant ways. Because culture affects all aspects of health and healthcare, it's critical that, as a future health scientist or a health practitioner, you demonstrate cultural competence. A definition of cultural competence is afforded on screen, a good one to note for your next quiz. We need to be able to work effectively in cross-cultural settings. Cultural competence is a skill set that enables improved service delivery to people from COLD backgrounds, so culturally and linguistically diverse backgrounds, and improves the experiences of individuals, ensuring they receive high quality and culturally appropriate care. This slide lists several practical ways in which you can display cultural competence. Firstly, start with yourself. A good practice is to firstly consider and reflect on your own cultural beliefs, values, and behaviours. Secondly, demonstrate respect for difference. For example, appreciating a different cultural view to a given health situation or health issue. Use your research skills. Seek to understand the specific cultural influence that is at work here. Very practically, arrange for an interpreter when needed. And finally, demonstrate your active listening skills to confirm that you're on the same page as the person in front of you. Additional strategies are listed on this slide. Seek to explore how the person understands their condition in their own worldview. What role might their family play in decisions around care, which, as we saw in our case study, may be significant? And then question this assumption itself. What does it mean to assume that family is the primary source of support? Is family even important to that person or available? Or are there other sources of social support in their life? Finally, once you have all this information, negotiate a treatment plan that is mutually agreed upon and understood. A culturally competent health practitioner would seek to understand some of the following, or perhaps all of the following, as relevant to the particular context of care. For example, what is the role of family? What is the role of community? What is the person's view on death and dying? What role does religion play? What role do gender roles and relationships between genders play? Hopefully you now have an appreciation for the need to understand different cultural views to health and health-related situations. To end this week, I'd like you to demonstrate your ability to do so in the context of death and dying. The task is listed on screen. I'd like you to choose a cultural group you are interested in learning more about and consider the following points. What are the general beliefs around death and dying? How do they prepare for death? What happens at the time of death? The funeral, the burial, what happens afterwards? Please post your response on the discussion thread labelled Activity 4.2. This task should take you approximately 30 minutes to complete. We will discuss this activity in our next class. This concludes our learning on culture as a determinant of health. Next week, week 5, we examine the social determinants of health. I look forward to seeing you then.